Okay. I suppose we better start another canvas. So, I think now it's time to start another panel. Let's go sort that out. So, it is 11 o'clock and I've spent the best part of this morning sending some panels out to the gallery in Yorkshire I was telling you about yesterday. Anyway, now I'm preparing another panel, another 12 by 12 for my gallery in America. I've already got a load pre-prepared. I know I've probably been over this in the past, but I'm using moisture resistant MDF. It's 9mm, so it's a little bit thicker, which is good for bigger panels, 5 to 12 by 12. You could get away with something a bit thinner for a 12 by 12 or something around that size, but that 9mm is really nice and sturdy. Sending them out is a breeze because you don't have to worry about them getting damaged or anything like that. And anyway, it's been primed, both sides primed, so that stops any warping. And then I sand down the side I'm going to paint on. It's sort of fairly smooth anyway, but I roll it on so it's got a little slight stippled effect. So I'll sand that down now. Air gun helps. Just to give you a little idea about how I sketch out, I know some of you have asked whether I use a grid technique, and although I do with some of the more hyper-realistic pictures, with these ones I don't. I just get everything roughly in the right place. It's not important that everything is as it is in the photograph, because no one's going to know. People aren't going to see it. It's not going to be displayed on a wall next to the photograph, that the reference photograph. So pretty much do my thing. I'm trying to get it roughly right, but I'm not too concerned. So one of the things I do is I just make sure the horizon line is in roughly the right place, because if that is out, then everything is out. And that is the only time you'll see me use a straight edge. So once I've got that in, and then we are good to go. Damn it. Camera stopped recording. Halfway through a time lapse. As we were. So, sky is, well, I've given it a coat of oil, but that just goes to show if you don't do the underpainting smooth enough, which I didn't, it's a bit of a rush job, you can, when you come to do the oil, you can still see a little bit of the underpainting underneath. It doesn't look terribly smooth and sort of uniform, so that is going to require another coat, which I'll be able to do tomorrow. There's some trees that are going to go over the top in areas, but I'll just paint around those. That'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, so block it in as good as you can. That's what I would say. Working on the hillside here. In the photograph, and I will show you a bit of the photograph that I'm painting. I'll put that up now. But the photograph isn't quite as it's quite green. There's very little difference between the hillside at the back, colour-wise, and the foreground. And to give it a little bit more depth, I'm going to make that a little bit more atmospheric. Take out a bit of the saturation, and you're going to have more of a sort of a blue hue to it. It's tricky to get right that when you haven't got reference materials. I'm not using reference, but it's going to be light. and it's going to be just basically a little bit less saturated, so a little bit more grey between you and me. And probably, rather than having that great big lump there, what I might do is break that up and put maybe some smaller trees in, or make that more of a sort of a distant hill, you know, a distant sort of line of trees rather than just a clump that there is currently there. There's been no drying time between putting that first coat of oil on to get the right colour and now doing these little leaf canopies here. And it is wet. It's still just as wet as it was. I mean, it was minutes ago, 1 or 2 minutes ago. The trick is not, if you don't want to get it to smudge, which of course you don't, then the trick is to, with this layer of leaves here, is to make sure you're picking up enough paint on the brush to, you know, put a nice, not a clump, because it's not really, it's not sticking out. It's not a lump sitting on top of the canvas, but there's enough on there to put a coat on top of that wet paint. And what you're doing is you're making sure you use a soft brush so that you don't disturb the paint underneath so much. And you're literally, I'm not wiping it, I'm just dabbing. So I'm just putting on the tiniest, you know, little blip of paint, and then just building it up to make it look like all the different canopies. So there we are, that's a pretty good bed now to do that set of trees there. One thing I will say, the way it's been blocked in, those trees are very solid, you can't see through them at all. And what I'll do, once I've done this detail, I'll put in a few little areas where you can see, you know, the field or the hill beyond it. Because trees are very rarely ever that thick, are they? So, and you definitely don't have a very, you know, definite line around a tree. So, although they're in the distance and it's not going to be like a tree that's up close where you have got more holes, I'm still going to put a few more in, because otherwise it's just not going to look real. So just bear that in mind. So now I'm going to build up, I'm going to put the canopies on now, bearing in mind that I've literally just finished that, so it's still wet apart from the lighter bits, which are the acrylic underpainting. We're still going to be able to go straight over the top of that, so let's go. We just need to decide on what brush I'm going to use for it, and I think I want to give this brush here a try. So it's just one that I've sort of cut into a bit of a point there in order to do the leaves. We'll give it a try first, see how it works, and if not, we've got plenty of other brushes we can try, so let's go. So each time I get a bit of a mix, get the colours right, I hold it up against the photograph just to see if I'm nearly there, and it's not a million miles out. Let's see how we get on with that. Not too bad, not too bad. I think it could probably be a bit warmer, but that's the technique. So can you see, looking up close there, what we've got is we're just putting on a dot basically. And I'm going to go over the whole thing, varying the colour of course, but get that area done now. And we shall do a bit of a time lapse so that the video doesn't go on forever. I think that's it. I think I've had enough for today. So I'm going to end it here. I'll see you tomorrow.